Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
In the world of racing, there are road circuits and there are street circuits. And then there is Bathurst, a perilous run up and down Mount Panorama that features some of the most fantastic technical runs in the entire world. It is a circuit that leaves zero room for error, and tonight we let loose the Radical SR10 upon it. Hello everyone, and welcome to round 7 of the Radical Racing Challenge, brought to you here live on Apex Racing TV. My name is DJ Clark, joined here in the commentary booth by Aaron Smith with our director and producer Jamie Fluke behind the scenes. And Aaron, it's Bathurst. I mean, what else do we need to say about this incredible circuit?
Yeah, this track doesn't really need any introduction, does it? Everyone knows how tough this track is. Everyone loves it, though. It's kind of one of those challenging circuits that everyone likes, kind of in a similar vein to Imola, I suppose, where it is very much a driver's track. It's very technical, it's very challenging, but it's just so much fun to get it right and to nail a lap time. And it's just going through Skyline, the whole track just gives you something you don't really get from any other track, and yeah, that's something only the Australians could do.
Yes, indeed. It is certainly a wonderful combination of purpose-built circuit as well as public road that leads up and down the hill. And as we watch right now, we are in the midst of qualifying. Watching Jonas Hartmann right now bring his way down through the chase. One of the areas on the track that we are most likely to see some overtaking done, picking up a little bit of understeer through there, but certainly a good line for the German driver as he tries to bring his way down now through Murray's Corner and across the start-finish line. Let's see what his time is.
Yeah, as you said, he picked up a butt ton of understeer, but at the moment goes on top of the timing sheets. Of course, we've got a bunch of people left to set a lap time, but to be fair, going through that corner, I think he induced that understeer sort of on purpose to sort of drift him out wide and put him in a good position for those final few corners. And yeah, this car is prone to understeering, bit strange from the engine layout. I mean, it's a small, dinky little car, very short wheelbase, and yeah, very, very strange that it is very understeery. But yeah, I think a lot of people prefer the old SR8 the way it feels, even though it is slower. But yeah, that car is just something else, and I think people still love that car. As Philip Van Den goes up to second place. Got a few gaps opening up. The top three only separated by about a tenth and a half-ish. And then everyone else just struggling for pace all the way down the grid. 3 seconds. I mean, this is something else this track provides, is those huge gaps. The difference in skill a driver needs to put that lap together around here. The consistency for it, it really does bring the best out of some of these drivers.
Yes, it most certainly does. As we watch right now, Jean-Francois Heligarch coming across the line right now. That'll be good enough for 13th there for him as the Argentinian Leon Hernandez now brings the car down through Murray's corner. Let's see what the number 5 machine is able to put on the charts as he's going to finish up his qualifying time there. And it looks like that lap not going to count for Leon, so that's going to be something to come back on there. A few more drivers still yet to set a time down on the board, including Robert Woodward in the number 7 machine as he brings the car down out of the chase. Looking at the times, tracking quick through Sector 3, the fastest sector set out of any driver, as now he works his way onto that start-finish straightaway. Let's see what Woodward is able to put down on the board. That's going to be good enough for 4th place. A mega lap for the number 7.
Yeah, the highest we've seen him so far, and like all season, that's a very impressive lap from him. I think towards the end of the lap he was struggling a little bit, but nevertheless, don't think he's going to get enough time for another lap. But if he can stay 4th, I'd say that's a pretty good spot to be in, as we're watching Philip van Den, the man in 2nd place at the moment. The number 1 car coming around the final few corners looks pretty good there. He's fastest through Sector 2 at the moment, only 1 corner to go. Pretty much nails the braking zone, just about down to 2nd, round the final corner. Can he get pole? He does.
Yes, he can.
That's a great lap.
A great lap for Philip Vandenherk there, and you see that number 1 machine pulling off to the side there. That will complete his running. Casanovas able to put in a good time up to be in P5 as we watch Heligarch right now in the number 8 machine, bringing the car down through the chase. He's going to want to be improving from a 17th place position, as I think here in the short time that we have to be racing, we're not going to see too many opportunities to move your way up through the field, so very, very crucial to try to get a good qualifying time there. Little bit of a narrow line coming off of Murray's corner. That's only going to be an improvement of 1 position up into 16th. Here is Leon Hernandez. Remember, that last lap did not count for the Argentinian in the number 5, but he's going to bring the car out of Murray's right now. That's going to come across the line. Does this one count? Yes, it does, to the tune of 2nd place.
That was, it looked really hooked up through that final corner, and who knows on that first lap what he would have done. But speaking of his first lap, getting an off-track round here is quite a challenge, as there's not really any like corners you can cut or any really bits of grass. I mean, if you do get an off-track round here, it's more or less going to put you in the wall.
Yeah, it certainly is, but that's going to go ahead and bring us to our starting order here. It's going to be Philip Vandenherk up in pole position, followed by Leon Hernandez, then Jonas Hartmann and Max Edmondson in row 2. Robert Woodward lines up in P5 with Manu Casanovas to his outside with Mika Holkonen and Nacho Salas in P8. Stephen Phillips lines up in 9th with Aitor Iglesias rounding out your top 10. David Ralston will be in 11th, and then Christian Nikolaita in P12. P13 will be Rob Ferd, followed by Andreas Sabo. Then in 15th position, it's Gabor Koleski, followed by Condameccio, then Heligarch and Joseph Dimbolo. Frederick Font and Max Jeff are going to round out your top 20 with Chris Witkins and Richard Hearn. Richie Hearn, I believe that could be, unless I'm greatly mistaken, former IndyCar driver, as he is oftentimes to be seen here in couple of series, so good to see Richie into this grid. But now as everybody grids up here, always perilous coming down into Hell Corner here, Aaron. You've got to be very, very careful, as it is very easy to have a big coming together.
Yeah, I mean, talk about tracks that are very tentative on lap 1. You've got Monza, maybe Nordschleife, and then this. This is a completely different level of chaos. If anyone goes for a move that's a bit touch and go, it's going to end up in tears. And turn 1 isn't too bad. You probably won't see many moves into turn 1. It's not really long enough, the start finish straight, to go for a move. But yeah, coming into turn 2, I think we might see an optimistic move or two.
Yeah, we could certainly see that coming into Griffin's Bend. 11 laps here, I believe, in store for these drivers around the Bathurst circuit. That's what we are in store for. Not a timed race, but indeed a distance race of 11 laps. That may not sound like a whole lot, but with 3.8 miles to cover, rest assured it is plenty. As the lights begin to come on around the circuit and we get ready to go racing, as there goes the green, and we are racing here at Bathurst. Talk about a getaway there from Leon Hernandez. Immediately going to be challenging Philip Vandenherk down into Hell Corner. Looks like Vandenherk's able to hold that out for now. The rest of the field starting to work their way into single file order. Jonas Hartman under some pressure there from Max Edmondson as they work their way up the hill right now. A little bit too wide, farther back down in the field, but everybody looking like they're together pretty cleanly. A little bit of a defensive move there from Philip Vandenherk as they come down into Griffin's Bend.
Yeah, fairly clean start so far, but I better hold my tongue on that as we've got some side-by-side action coming all the way up to turn 3. This corner is blind. Some of these drivers might send it through here. I don't think we're going to get any sends. Oh, there's one going into turn 4. Can he make it stick? Oh, that's very tight. The number 18 just blasting away from this group behind them. And oh, we got some contact.
And that's Condamago. They're having some problems. Looks like caught up behind them is Font, as that's going to be the first little bit of contact that we have running up the mountain here, as now they work their way through Skyline and down into the Dipper. We follow Nacho Salas right now, who's one of the big movers in the race, up 2 positions in that number 2 machine. So he's going to be feeling pretty strong and hopefully going to be able to get a good tow here. But up at the front of the field, it is Philip Vandenherk looking to extend a little bit of an advantage here of about 0.6 of a second over Leon Hernandez.
Yeah, coming out of that corner, though, he got a really bad exit. He's lost about 0.4 so far, giving Leon Hernandez that better amount of slipstream. As you can see, the gap just crawling down. It's going to probably be about 0.2 by the time we reach the end of the chase. And yes, look at the gap just shrunk from about 1 second to 0.2. And everyone within the top 5 has a pretty good chance of winning this race at the moment.
Yeah, they certainly do, and some great braking there from Leon Hernandez going down into the chase to be able to keep that gap nice and close, as Vandenherk rather is going to lead us here to start lap number 2 around Mount Panorama. I've got to say though, Hernandez under a little bit of pressure here from Jonas Hartman in that number 9 machine, as he looks like he's starting to get a good run off of Hell Corner. And indeed, he's going to poke his nose to the inside down the long mountain straight.
Yeah, as you were going to say, he looked like he was under so much pressure around those final few corners, and Hartman actually is already ahead by the time we reach the end of the straight, but he's not going to give it up, though, as he goes very wide, and he's going to lose a few positions. That allows Hernandez to get back in front, and I think Hartman's going to slip down to 4th, maybe even 5th.
Yeah, he's going to fall his way down through the order here, losing it all out, as Hartman will lose 1 position there to Max Edmondson. Edmondson now able to try to be on the attack here in that number 3 machine. The battle's still very, very intense. Meanwhile, Vandenherk opening up a big advantage on the run up the hill. He's got it up to about 1.6 seconds. I dare to say here that he's starting to check out.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you there. If he can just keep it on the track, keep it on the road, as we did see last season in these cars, that people can just suddenly make a mistake. I think it was Rafael Blanco last season that ended up losing the race because of a mistake about halfway through. And of course, we know Philip to be a very consistent driver, so who knows what's going to happen as everyone locks up coming down the hill onto the chase now. And yeah, the top 3 went from being within about 1 second of each other at the start of this lap to now being separated by about 3. So that really goes to show how much can happen in one lap round here, as we see Chris Whitten's going for a move, and I believe that is a Joseph Dimblow battling it out for 15th place. There, Chris Whitten's actually up 6 places already, and we're only on lap 2.
Yeah, that's an impressive run from the number 10. You saw a little bit of a fight back there from Dimlow trying to be able to get back by through the chase, but it didn't look like that paid out. Looked like Casanovas able to move up 1 position on Hulkonen as well, a little farther up the field, as Vandenherk sets the fastest lap of the race. And we check back in on this battle for P3. Edmondson, Hartman, and Woodward now fully involved in this conversation. And we've seen this a couple of times from Robert Woodward over the course of the season. He likes to just sort of loiter in the background here, just wait for a battle to play out in front of him and pick up the pieces if anything were to go wrong.
Yeah, I think we mainly saw that after his incident in round 1, where he didn't do that and ended up in the wall, albeit it wasn't really his fault. But yeah, ever since that's happened, he has sort of taken a more cautious approach to overtaking someone who isn't, though, is Casanovas going for a move. Actually, no, that's the car behind Hulken and losing a place to Phillips, who overtook him into turn 2. We got a very... This battle for the midfield always seems to just spice up. Wherever we go on the calendar, these guys in these radicals always provide some good action in the midfield.
Yeah, they really and truly do, and I think it is a testament to this new Radical SR10 that we've had come in for the past couple of seasons. A little bit of a different handling car, as you said earlier, compared to the SR8, but it's certainly produced some great battles as Hulkinen ran a little bit wide there coming down through Skyline. He's able to gather the car back up under him, but he's got to be careful about that. You get offline on the run down the hill here, and it can be a very, very quickly cascading effect to find yourself bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, he's got to be careful of that. I'm not sure if it's setup-wise or maybe he just made a little bit of a mistake coming down into Skyline. Maybe just carried a bit too much speed. That's what it looked like. But anyway, we got the battle resuming for third place here as Edmondson actually moves himself up into second place. Excuse me, Leon Hernandez going up and down the order at the moment. And yeah, these top 5 having a superb battle at the moment. Well, apart from Philip, obviously, at the front. But yeah, they're having a superb battle. Was Christian Neclorator having his own little battle for, I believe, this is 11th place. Trying to go for a move around the outside of the final corner. It's going to be very optimistic. But that's Casanovas in the pits.
I'm not sure. He's being shown as out of the race here at this point. That may be an internet issue. We'll have to get back to you. Want to give some credit here, though, to Chris Wittens, who is up 8 positions, as well as Richie Hearn behind him, also up 8 positions. So both of those drivers doing a fantastic job to be able to claw back some spots here at this point. We give another little bit of a look up at the front of the field. Edmondson, Hernandez, Hartman, and Woodward still running in a quartet here at this point, as it looks like nothing's going to separate them. Maybe a little bit of brake lockup could, though.
Yeah, and as we've mentioned about 1,000 times during the season, when you do lock up these cars, the car kind of handles very funny for about half a lap to a lap. It does become very unpredictable, a bit understeery, more understeery than it already is, and yeah, you have to be really careful when you do lock up. But yeah, especially like these corners, like, oh, and we got a spin. I think that's Hernandez.
Yes, I think it is. They're getting things wrong. Hernandez the other way, and that's contact there with Hulkinen as he comes down through. Oh my goodness, holding the brakes. He's got to let everybody on by him.
I think he's going to have to tow that. That car looks pretty much undrivable, and yeah, Hulkinen not really happy in the chat, as it was pretty much unavoidable.
Yeah, when you're coming up over Skyline like that, it's pretty much a blind corner as you dive down into the hill. We're actually going to go back and take a look at the replay here. Here is Hernandez. This is now coming up through McPhillamy Park. It looks like he's able to keep everything under control and just gets out of control coming down over Skyline. Contact there into the wall, and he holds the brakes, tries to back up a little bit. Really nowhere for Hulkinen to go on that one.
Yeah, that's where you have to be really careful. If someone has gone off in Skyline, you do have to really pay attention to your spotters saying if there is a yellow flag, and you got to clench your butt cheeks and hope that you can make it through all right. But unfortunately for Hulkinen, he did not, and is now out of the race pretty much. And yeah, unfortunate for Hernandez. That battle for second place was really heating up, and they've all sort of spread out now. And yeah, that's one of the most common mistakes we see at this track.
Yes, it certainly is a mistake that we see time in and time out. Is now Necolaita under a little bit of pressure here from Iglesias behind him. Iglesias, Aitor, flashing the headlights, trying to get into the head maybe a little bit of Necolaita, but it looks like that's not going to play out, as the number 18 machine going to be able to keep their way up in 8th place, as now they work their way through the cutting. That got a little bit hairy.
Yeah, just a tiny bit. You saw a little bit of a twitch and a lock up going into turn 4. And yeah, these cars, as we have mentioned time and time again, the brakes just, you really do have to get used to them. They're different than any other car in iRacing, and it's kind of why I think some people like it. It does provide that challenge on the brakes. They are very, very sensitive and are coming down through Skyline. This is where Iglesias looks to be on the pace, as it's easier to follow a car through there than you might think. And you really can gain a lot of time, and this is one of the most crucial corners on the track, getting a nice exit onto this long back straight, and he's just about in the slipstream, about 5/10, And by the time we get all the way down to the bottom of the chase, it should be, well, let's find out.
Yeah, looks like Nicolida able to hold out that gap here at this point over Iglesias. Ferd behind them as well. And don't count out Wittens, who continues to move their way up through the field, up 10 positions now, courtesy of that incident we saw a little bit earlier with Holkonen and Hernandez. But Nicolida trying to close in. And look at that gap. He's been able to close in on Rolston up ahead of him. Also want to draw attention there that Woodward able to set the fastest lap of the race there with a 157.849. So clearly doing good things, tucked behind in that draft. But this battle for P7 right now, Nicolida starting to put some pressure under the back of the number 16.
Yeah, I think Nicolida really, and even Iglesias behind him, these guys really do look to be on it now compared to Rowlandston, who does seem to be lacking a bit of pace, but has the advantage of being ahead of them, obviously. But on the mention of Woodward in 4th place, I think as well, Philip Vanden's just started to chill a little bit. I mean, he is in 1st, he's got a comfortable gap, doesn't really need to push much. Whereas Woodward's in the complete opposite end of the spectrum. He does need to push, get himself on that rostrum. And, well, 2nd place is only 6/10 away from him.
Yeah, only 6/10 away, so he knows it's within touching distance here at this point. But as they work their way up the hill, not a lot of overtaking opportunities. Big puff of brake smoke there. I'm not sure who that was from. It may have been Stephen Phillips up ahead. Oh, contact there. Ralston getting things wrong, coming out of the exit of McPhillamy Park, making contact into the outside wall. He's able to keep it together, but he's got to be careful with that. He does that again, that could be disaster written all over it.
Yeah, of course, we have to remember that this car is basically made of paper compared to any other car in the game. And yeah, as we know, the new damage model that came into, I believe, this season, the damage over time, where if you keep, well, basically ruining the car, then you're just going to ruin the car. And there's someone stops at the side of the road. I think that was Dimblo, who has now towed back to the pits. Not sure what happened with him. But anyway, Witten's now continuing his charge, moving himself up into the top 10. He is proving to be one to watch on this race. He's up 11 places right now, and round here, that is really something.
Yeah, that's a very impressive run. The latest driver to fall to him, Rob Ferd, there in that car right behind the number 13 that you're able to see him get that move on. And I think here for Wittens, I would not have put him down for a top 10, but he's in the 10. He's up into P10, rather, and I certainly think Iglesias, Nicolida, and Ralston may be on his plate here before everything is said and done.
Yeah, and all that's Hartman, who went very wide. I don't know if he has any damage. Coming into turn 2, and Woodward might be able to get his way past. No, he's just a bit too far back. But the car just didn't seem to turn. I don't know if he tried to go for a move on Max in front of him. I think he did, and just got it all wrong. And yeah, he's very lucky to, well, by the looks of it, not really have any damage from it.
Yeah, I don't think he made contact with the outside wall. I think he just blew the braking zone, and that certainly threw him off. Little bit of oversteer there, coming up and over the ridge at the exit of McPhillamy Park. Now they come down through Skyline. Ooh, and a little bit of a wiggle. Oh, is he going to be able to hold that together? You see everybody slamming on the brakes. Hartman somehow keeps that thing off the wall.
That was an incredible save from Hartman. I don't think I've ever seen someone get that close to the wall in Skyline and actually come away from it unscathed. Let's take a look at the replay of that. I think he's going to need a change of underwear after that. But yeah, coming into here, just a tiny bit too much speed. And yeah, just he grazed the wall, but just about kept it out. That is spectacular.
Jonas Hartman, I'm talking to you after this race. You're buying me a lottery ticket after that, as we've got a little bit of a battle here. Stephen Phillips right now and Nacho Salas. Salas in the number 2, trying to make the move around the outside here, coming down into Murray's corner. That's going to be Phillips down to the inside. Phillips later on the binders, able to get it together. Salas looking for a little bit of an over-under, but doesn't quite have the speed to do it. Now he's going to poke his nose to the inside, going into Hell Corner. That's not going to play itself out. It's Salas is going to have to try again.
Yeah, Salas is going to have the big slipstream coming down here. It's only 3/10. He's surely going to be able to go for a move into turn 2, and look at the speed. The draft in these cars are something else, and look at the speed he's gaining, but I actually think he might be holding back a little bit. I think he was. I don't think he wanted to go for that move into turn 2. It is a difficult move to go for, as it's not it's still quite a high-speed corner, but yeah, just backed out of it and is going to wait for his next opportunity.
Yeah, you definitely saw him lift out of the throttle there as we check back in on Wittens right now, who is now up a whopping 12 places, able to get by Iglesias, and now he's going to put Nekalaita in his sights as this pretty meteoric rise here for the number 10 continues on. And I've got to say, with Rolston looking like he's holding up the 18 of Nekalaita, this could be a pretty easy pass once we get to the Conrad Straight.
I don't know if he just had a really bad qualifying or he chose not to qualify. But the lap times that he's setting, he should be fighting for a podium right now. He's setting really competitive lap times and is still coming through traffic. Yeah, he might have the draft, but coming through traffic, it really does slow you down massively. And I'm not really sure why. Maybe he did it for a bit of fun. I don't know, but I mean, it's fun for us to watch, so I'm not complaining.
Nor am I, as Witten's not looking like he's completely tucking up behind the draft of Nekalaita there in the number 18. But he knows what he's doing, rest assured. Again, 12 positions gained here in this race, so he is clearly going to be sitting very, very pretty by the time the checkered flag flies. By the way, just about 4 laps to go here as Philip Vandenherk crosses over the line to start on lap number 9. These races, despite how long of a circuit this is, certainly do fly at you.
Yeah, we've said this time and time again, these races absolutely fly by as you're watching these cars fling themselves at each other, and all of a sudden the race is over. And we've only got 15 cars left on the lead lap at the moment, so yeah, this race certainly has flew by more than others, I'd say, as Nacho Salas just falling back a little bit on this lap compared to the last on Phillips in front of him, but he has 3 more laps to try and set himself up another move, but I think it's fairly easy to defend around here just purely because of this middle sector where you can sort of compose yourself and not really worry about the car behind. There's not really any overtaking opportunities at all. Maybe into Skyline, but just thinking about that is terrifying.
Yeah, you've got to be very, very confident, and I think maybe a little bit insane to try to get a move done through Skyline, but this is coming from somebody who very rarely can get Skyline done when he's hot lapping, so let's not discount that. Maybe a little bit of a hit over the wall there. Big snap from Nacho Salas. He's able to keep that back under control. That car looking out of control as he comes down the mountain.
Yeah, just got a tiny bit of oversteer coming down the hill, which is typically where this car and a lot of other cars do just let go. And now he's going to fall under pressure from Hartman, who made, I believe it was him who made the same mistake, but Salas managed to keep it out of the wall. And to be fair, so did Hartman. But Hartman instead ended up facing the wrong way. But Hartman's got a very nice slipstream coming down this back straight. Is he going to go for a move into the chase? Just a bit too far back. And I think Rollinson and Nekalaita now having a battle that got very close coming into the chase as we now come down to the final corner. Not really an overtaking opportunity usually, but he's going to go for it anyway. Nekalaita going for a move around the outside. Can he keep it? He can. Very impressive move.
Impressive stuff from Christian Nekalaita there, and that is going to be a good move, but that is also going to put Chris Wittens right into this battle as he's now going to be behind Ralston. And remember, we said a little bit earlier, Nekalaita may have been held up a little bit by Ralston as they work their way on the mountain straight right now over the crest of the hill before they get into the braking zone. That is Griffin's Bend. And remember here, Wittens up 12 positions. He's going to maybe thinking about 13 here on Ralston if Ralston can keep it together. But now, as you said earlier, Aaron, the track narrows up. It's not exactly a chance to overtake. Oh no, as Wittens gets it wrong, locks up the rear tires and spins coming through the cutting.
Yeah, once again managed to keep it out of the wall. And when I say just, I mean his splitter maybe was touching the wall. That was impressive, but at the same time, it's a bit disappointing. We were sort of hoping that he could pull off a move on these two and get himself up some more incredible places. But yeah, coming into here, coming on this blind corner, just took a very weird line trying to get out of, I believe that was a Rollinston's line, and just got it all wrong on the brakes, ended up spinning, and we'll see what he can do from here. But we're coming back to the battle for 5th now. This battle is still going on. Nacho Salas still under pressure from Hartman, who is now putting on even more pressure than he was on the lap previous. He's got a better run and is already ahead, but Salas is not going to give this one up. He's very good on the brakes there, much better than Hartman. I think Hartman kind of thought he already got the move done, but Salas caught him off guard, and Hartman's going to try and fight him back into the final corner. Can he be even better on the brakes than Salas was previously? Not quite, and it's just going to have to sit behind as he gets a little bit impatient on the throttle, and it is white flag here at Bathurst.
1 lap to go for your leader, Philip Vandenherk, but still plenty of battles to fly themselves out here. As, by the way, Vandenherk has a whopping 7.5 second advantage up at the front of the field. But Nacho Salas right now is going to be looking behind him, because rest assured, I don't think that's the last time that we're going to see a run here from Jonas Hartman as they come now into Griffin's Bend. Up ahead of them is Stephen Phillips, the American in the number 6 machine. He should have enough breathing room up ahead of him to not have to worry about too much here, but a good run for Phillips as we've got a little bit of a closer battle here. That's Richie Hearn trying to send a move on Rolston going up into Griffin's Bend. Now they come up into the cutting. Richie around the outside, and he makes the move work.
Yeah, I think Rolston has possibly had an issue somewhere, as he is really falling off the pace now. I'm not sure if he maybe hit the wall or something, or had his own little spin. We're going to see now coming into the chase. And everything looks normal so far. Ooh, gets a bit of oversteer on entry and can't quite keep it. And yeah, going through that corner, there wasn't really too much he could do. Kept it well enough, and that's Nicolata in the wall.
Oh, and that's coming down out of Skyline. We've seen a couple of drivers having that problem earlier today, but that's of no never mind to Philip Vandenherk, who has been able to lead since the drop of the green flag. He had a little bit of an attack early on, but able to rebuff it quite well. No concerns here for the number 1 driver as he comes across the start-finish line to take victory at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, pretty much flawless drive from him, and these two having a pretty good race of their own. Edmondson coming home in 2nd place, up a few places, along with Robert Woodward, and Phillips not too far behind them, only about 4 seconds, and Nacho Salas holding off Hartman for 5th place, and Rob 3rd. Now had a fairly quiet race, but nevertheless comes home in 8th place, and Witten's still in the top 10, and Nicolata falling down to 11th place after that mistake in Skyline. And he must not be happy just about dodging the traffic. And Rolston coming across the line in 12th place. Fairly average race for him. He was up there, but unfortunately just couldn't keep on to his places. I think he was up to 7th at one point, but just fell down the order. An unfortunate race for him. Other unfortunate races, of course, Hernandez and Holkonen both coming together. And Casanovas, I believe, disconnected as well as these final few drivers coming across the line. Holkonen there having an incident that wasn't really his fault. And Hernandez, who could have won this race, unfortunately had that incident at Skyline. And we've seen that too many times.
We have indeed, as that is going to be the conclusion of the race here. Philip Vandenherk absolutely sensational up at the front of the field. Max Edmondson and Robert Woodward with a good drive to come home in P3. We talked about some of the patience there from the number 7 machine behind them. It was Stephen Phillips and Nacho Salas to round out your top 5. Then Jonas Hartman, Heitor Iglesias, Rob Ferd, Chris Wittens, and Richie Hearn. Wittens and Hearn both up 12 positions on the day. From there, it was Nicolata who unfortunately fell down through the order. He was up 1 position on the day. David Rolston down 1 to finish 12th. Then Aksabo, Goluski, Font, Holkonen, and then we get into the drivers that had a very rough run out there today. Don't need to necessarily go through them, but Mount Panorama delivering as we expected it to. A very frenetic race for all of these drivers, and it certainly was one that, well, lived up to expectations here, Aaron.
Yeah, it kind of always does. We had this race last season, and it was an absolute banger. I think any racing series that you put around here, it might not always have side-by-side action, but just knowing that something can go wrong at any moment, because this is probably, I'd say, the easiest track to make a mistake on, and that includes tracks that aren't even on the game. I mean, Monaco, I'd say, is probably easier to not make a mistake than this. Just that middle sector is so you have to be so precise on throttle and steering, and if you get it just a tiny bit wrong, and even coming down through Skyline, if you brake a little bit too hard or not enough, and you carry too much speed, or you brake too much and lock the tires, just anything, one tiny little thing goes wrong and your race can end just like that.
Indeed it can, and we go from a very, very tight technical track like this to, well, an absolute power drome of a circuit next time out in the form of the Red Bull Ring. I think there we're going to see a lot more overtaking, a lot more aggressive driving, as that very wide surface there, obviously an FIA Grade 1 circuit, going to present a different challenge altogether for these drivers.
Yeah, I think following might be a little bit of a challenge through that middle sector, and those two final corners are nearly impossible to follow through. And I think off tracks as well, probably going to be a big issue, as this car is known for understeering, and understeering around those final few corners, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a pain for some of these drivers to practice throughout the week and avoid those incidents. But I think it should be a fairly incident-free race. As you said, it's quite high speed, it's got a lot of straights. Realistically, the only overtaking opportunities are heavy braking zones. You're not really going around side by side that often, like through fast corners like you would round here. And I think, yeah, next week is probably going to be the exact opposite of what we've seen today.
I think it certainly will, and make sure to tune in next time as we do head out to that Red Bull Ring circuit. But folks, unfortunately for today, that's about going to wrap up our coverage here of the Radical Racing Challenge. On behalf of myself, DJ Clark, as well as Aaron Smith and Jamie Fluke, it's been a pleasure to bring you the racing action here today. Join us next week as we head off to Austria and let these Radical SR10s loose in the Alps. But as for now, until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.